Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So today's going to be a bit different of a video than I usually do. Because today, we've got ourselves a gaming video. So, about 3 or so years ago, a trailer dropped for a game called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, which is a Jet Set Radio-inspired spiritual successor, essentially. And ever since I first saw that trailer, I've been hyped as fuck for the game to come out. And you'll never guess what came out recently. Now, I've never been one to buy games day one, and this time was no different. However, the hype did get to me on day two, and I ended up buying the game, and the soundtrack, and the optional character DLC, which cost me a lot. But I don't regret it, because I had a fun time playing on that first day. I then decided to play more the following day and ended up beating the game in about roughly 10 hours. Now, despite having a really fun time with the game and having nothing but really high praise to sing of it, $40 is a lot for a 10-hour game that on average actually is about 7 hours. So I wouldn't really recommend buying the game full price, but it's still a fun enough time. However, this did leave me with an empty feeling by the time I actually did see the credits roll. Because of this, it obviously left me wanting more, and so I did the first thing that I do with most games when I've beaten them. I went and looked for speedruns. Speedruns that I couldn't find. So I then went to the next best place, speedrun.com, and there was an embargo until the 25th. And that's when I hatched an idea. So for a while now, I've always wanted to make a video about my attempt at speedrunning a game and learning it and getting a decent amount of time, but the biggest problem was what game. And while it was initially going to be Shovel Knight, this threw a massive wrench in my plans in the best of ways. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I tell you everything that I went through while learning how to speedrun this game. I've always been a stubborn guy when it comes to asking for help, so I decided fairly early on within my self-imposed challenge that I wanted to learn how to speedrun this game all on my own without any real outside help. This would be a boon and a curse, but before I knew what time I wanted to try to achieve, I needed to actually get a time first. So my first day was spent trying to legitimize myself through vanity. And what I mean is I downloaded OBS and LiveSplit and spent about 40 minutes learning to use each of them respectively. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to end up submitting a run, but I wanted to get a timeout on the leaderboard, so I guess it was just something to help me figure out both what time I started with, as well as to make it look, like I actually knew what I was doing. But once I had everything set up, that was when I began my first run. Now, truth be told, I would rather not talk about my first run because it was terrible, like absolutely dog shit. And I really just wanted to die. But I should probably talk about why it took me 3 hours to complete this. So, among many various just lack of knowledge when it came to movement tech and all that other crud, I lost a lot of time getting lost. So the main gameplay cycle of the game is tag the turf, get rep, talk to the other gangs, beat them in a score battle, dream sequence, end of chapter. There's a bit more to each chapter as you go through the game, but that's the simple ins and outs of it. And I didn't know where the graffiti was. I forgot the progression of the game, so I'd end up going in the wrong way. I didn't know map layout, so I'd end up just getting lost. I would die. Or rather, I would end up falling and losing time or falling off a cliff in Matan. Oh my fucking god, we'll get to Matan. And lose a lot of time just getting, well, my ass beat. But as mentioned prior, I lost a lot of time in Matan. Now, Matan is the final area of the game, and I love Matan now, but during this run, I hated Matan. I gained an extra hour on this area alone, because when you first come to Matan, it's actually at the beginning of Chapter 4, because you're trying to help Red, get fixed up. And the Flesh Prince, the guy who initially put the cyber head on Red, is supposed to be located here. Now, because I was in a speedrun mindset, I just kind of rushed to the Flesh Prince and then continued on with Chapter 4. And then when I got back here in Chapter 5, oh boy. So, in order to get further in, you have to spray a specific amount within the first area, and then they'll let you go to the second area, and then you do things there, and then you get to the third area, which I call Main Matan. Now, in the first area, I didn't spray a lot, and there were some areas that I knew were accessible through opening of this bike door. And the thing about the bike door is, Red rides a skateboard by default, and Trice, someone who you team up with early on and is within the gang, you play him in Chapter 4 in order to go and find the Flesh Prince. Trice has a bike. Trice goes to Matan. I didn't stop and think about getting this door when I was first here with Trice, so, whoops. I ended up backtracking, going to the gang hideout, getting Trice, getting back to Matan, and then failing at the fairly simple and straightforward platforming that you do after you get through the bike door for an embarrassingly long amount of time. Now, of course, this gave me a massive amount of time spent in Matan, because it was this area that I struggled with, and Main Matan in which I struggled with even more. And because of how dog shit my Matan was in my first ever run, I vowed to never let it hurt me again. Now, after all this pain and suffering, I would end with 3 hours, 4 minutes, 16 seconds as my final time on my first speed run. This could be improved. I knew this could be improved, but I just spent the past 3 hours hard focusing on beating a game, and I was a bit drained because I had done this after my workday. So I decided to step back, take a break, and kind of just get a feel for Matan. I loaded up my post-game save file of my casual playthrough and just kind of rode around Matan to try and figure out anything that could possibly cut down on my time in Matan. Of course, that and remembering to do the tags when I was first here with Trice. I estimated that if I knew what I was doing, that I could probably cut 20 minutes off of my next speedrun. And I did just that. I went into day 2 with about as much excitement as day 1, but more knowledge. and I was able to cut off 20 minutes because I didn't get lost as much, I didn't fall into the abyss as much, and I actually understood what I needed to do at Matan. Pyramid Island's a fucker though. Now, not too much happened on day 2, it was just a better game plan with better gameplay, so I'm just not going to talk too much about it and move on to day 3.
Understand the concept of love. Understand the concept of love. Understand the concept of love.
Day 3 is where the fun truly began because I cut off another 20 minutes off my speed run. I felt that here and now, I could get sub 2 hours if I really tried and put my mind to it. And this was when the massive time saves started to, well, get smaller and smaller. My gameplay was far from perfect, but with my current skill level, knowledge level, and lack of outside help due to personal choice, it was going to just be me getting better at specific parts of the run. More important, or I guess most importantly, Pyramid Island. Now, Pyramid Island is in Chapter 4. It's where the Devil Theory hang out, and it is a doozy. The beginning of it's fairly simple, but after the gang runs away, you're kind of just put into a grinding playground and told to explore. Now, the layout of the pyramid kind of sucks, and I hate it, because I get lost easy. I could not find my way out of a blanket. In fact, the blanket I am under and recording in right now, I'm already lost in it. I don't fucking know how to get out. So Pyramid Island, that is infinitely more confusing. And yet, I persevered. Now, as the embargo day was coming, I figured I would just keep on doing at least one run every day and submit my best time come Friday. And so on Friday after work, I loaded up the game with one more run in mind. And later on that night, within the speedrunning Discord, they were going to be having a race. So not only did I have only a certain amount of time to practice, I also wanted to take part in that race. And whoo boy, Friday was testing my patience. So my first attempt at a run ended fairly poorly because I decided to reset because I didn't like my time. My second attempt at the run was going fairly decent until my stepbrother decided to make it visit. Now, I don't hate him, and it's fine and all, but that killed my run, and I was not going to have enough time to do another attempt before the race. So I had a crossroads. I'd either have to do my own run and skip the race entirely, or just take a break and practice while waiting for the race. I did neither of those. I just shut the game off and took several deep breaths before deciding, fuck it, we'll go into the race without any actual knowledge. And that's when I got my 218. Now, because I'm unfamiliar with audio mixing and all that other good jazz, my volume on the race is weird. I didn't have the mic recording on, but I did have the Discord sounds coming through, which means OBS was picking up half of a conversation, and there's a lot of awkward silence. But it's up on my channel if you want to watch it. This is, at least at the time of recording, my current time on the archive, and it's currently second place for the any percent glitchless category.
Aaron! No!
Which is what I decided I would do, because after looking at the any percent category, there was a lot of tech that was found. A couple of short skips here, a couple of movement things there, skipping the entirety of Matan. I just wasn't interested in that. I wanted to play the game all the way through as fast as I possibly could. And so I kept on. because despite glitchless not being a category at this point in time, there was talks of it, and I wanted first place. Now, after the race, I slowed down on my gameplay because I'd been forcing myself to play a lot more than I wanted to. This meant I was actively burning myself on it really fast, and so by that point in time, I wanted nothing to do with the game. But I wasn't happy with my time. I knew sub 2 hours was possible, and I saw the other person who was interested in running glitchless any percent was closing in on the 2 hour mark, so I knew it was possible. I just needed to fix my routing, make sure that I was going the right way every time that a chapter started, make sure I was going to the right areas. And for the love of God, I needed to route out my graffiti. It was at this point that I took a 2-day break off the game. I didn't want to completely burn myself out trying to get this sub 2 hours. But I kept thinking about it, and I wanted to go back. And so I did another run. I came closer, but it wasn't close enough. I then got challenged to a race by another glitchless any percent runner. And it was closer to the 2 hour mark, sure, but it wasn't sub 2 hours like I wanted. And I felt like I played almost perfectly. Outside of a few problems here and there, I shaved off another 2 minutes, but how was I going to get sub 2 if my gameplay was this sloppy? I wasn't really feeling it, and my gameplay was just seemingly getting worse, but my times were getting better. So I begrudgingly took another few days off. But there was rumbles. Apparently, an update was coming. A patch that would hopefully allow us to skip some more cutscenes. A patch that would hopefully allow the skip cutscene button to actually come up faster. A patch that may or may not patch out the movement tech that any percent has been using since day 3. But the faster cutscene skips, that could help. If I could get my gameplay a lot better, and the only thing I had to worry about was the fact that my cutscenes were being skipped faster, I might actually be able to get under that 2 hours mark. And so, after the patch went live, I booted the game up and did one more run.
We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. We got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. Get ready for the ride. Come on. Listen, yeah, future, flexing, east to the crowd to the next thing. New brand flex, no resting. Ain't got no time for vexing. Energy, building. Base is covered, no switching. No limitation, no ceiling. Make new space for the feeling. Who got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. Who got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. Get ready for the ride. Get set for the vibe unfolding. See life like an action sequence. Put it down, let the beat start rolling. Upload to the mainframe. I'm on a satellite holding in. I see my people stepping it up now. Download that, we going in. Who got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. Who got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. Who got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready for the ride. Who got them moves, got them vibes. We got the strategy, do it all night, do it all day, no wasting time. We got the crew, get ready.
this was it. I was doing amazing. After every single chapter I watched as I got closer and closer, I used the load remover so that my time would be, instead of real time, game time. Sub 2 hours was looking more and more possible, and as I closed in on the final area of Matan, I knew I had to play my heart out. It seemed like I had a lot of time, but all it takes is one, maybe two massive mistakes, and I'm losing a lot of time. And as I closed in on the final boss, I only had a few minutes before it was 2 hours. I needed to play my heart out. And you know what? I did it. I got sub 2 hours. Not by much. It was definitely quite the close call. And it definitely was a bit of a clincher. It definitely felt like everything was on the line. But I did it. And so, after getting the sub 2 hours, I checked it against the time on the speedrun.com, and it was better. So I, of course, uploaded the video, and I submitted it. And it still hasn't been fucking processed, baby. It's been sitting in that inbox that, at the time of recording, was about 2 or 3 days ago I submitted this run. And, it's currently a better time. So, you know what? Just give me the crown. I'm the unofficial world record holder at this point in time. Thank you. I'll bow myself. Don't worry about it. I'm already patting myself on the back, and I'm doing fucking great. But, unfortunately, as I said, this is where the story ends. But as someone who did this without, like, any sort of help from the community, I feel good about my time. I feel like I did about as good as I could do without outside help. And I'm really happy about that. I just wish that my run would get verified because it has been 3 days, but overall I'd say that my experience has been it's been an up, and it's been filled with ups and downs. It's really taken a lot out of me, and I do have nothing but like the utmost respect for any and all speedrunner, because I cannot do this day in and day out. But, you know, big ups to those that sit down and play a game for hours a day, for days on end, for weeks on end, for months on end, or even those who play for years on end. I salute you. You do what I cannot do, and I think that is really impressive. But I guess there's nowhere else to go from here, but to end it. So, thank you for watching. I don't know how well this will do, but this is definitely something I've wanted to do for a while now, and I'm happy that I could get this out there. But yeah, thanks for sticking with it. I'll see you in the next video.